Hey everybody, it's your old pal, Simply Super Dave, coming at you on this late Sunday night with another episode of Staying Super with me. In this crazy, crazy world that spins out of control in this crazy, crazy universe. Oh man, and we're just on it, spinning around crazy, losing our minds with all the stuff going on today. If you've listened to the podcast, you already know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to cover everything over and over. Just not going to do that. You got to listen from the beginning, folks, and I encourage you to go from the very first episode all the way to this one. As they're not very long, about 15 minutes in length, some a little bit 30 minutes. It just depends how invested I am into the topic. The top 10 list is easy to fly through. That's probably the most popular ones. I suggest you go through them. Definitely top 10 recommends of all types of movies, and usually somewhere in the podcast or a stream. Yes, I do stream. I'll be starting that back up tomorrow, Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time, which means that'll be 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and then backwards from there, like 2 and then 1. There you go, West Coast 1 time. And then around the world, I gave you mine, look it up. Or keep the alert on, keep the notifications. Follow me on Twitch. That is the live streaming platform I'm on. It is in pirate radio form still, as I do not have the money to invest in opening the stream back up with all the doodads and doohickeys that are attached to it, like sound alerts and all the stuff that, you're accustomed to when you come to the Simply Super Dave stream. But I guarantee you by the end of the week, hopefully we'll have that taken care of, maybe, but it may be week 2 before we can get into that. So far, we did a surprise stream on Friday, and it was really supportive, so I look forward to the next week coming up, doing that in the mid-afternoon time. So that's a little earlier for people that are in other parts of the world, like Croatia. One of my first chatters of all, ever to chat in a stream of mine over 2 years ago, still shows up when I do stream today, and that means a lot to me. That means a hell of a lot, because he feels me on some sort of level. He understands not to take me so seriously. Like when I talk about things, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not telling you this is the truth. I'm saying, what if this seems very credible? What if this is true? Blah, blah, blah. And that's how I roll with life, because so far from what I understand with news media and everything, that news is never, like, you hear a story and you're like, okay, let's check in 3 hours and see what develops from that. Has it changed? Is that the story? That's what they're going with. So they're sealing the list for what reasons? That we can't handle it. What judge made that decision? You know what I'm saying? Just things like that. Not touching on any subject in particular about any certain list, but I'm still waiting for them to finish preparing it so I can see it. And if it's been released, why don't I know about it? We're not going to get into the politics of the corruption that we all see around us. Those are all past podcasts and future ones in the future. But I really wanted to focus on the next generation of kids out there. But because I think we really have set a tone for them to be mentally ready for everything. But we overstated the fact that I don't know. Like I said before, we have industrialized our lives so much that we have disconnected from Mother Nature, the very energy source that lives within us, by the way, and everything else that is alive on this planet, and in between things, the air, the thunder, the clouds, the rain, all of that is just in a big cycle, and you're walking through it, really, and living in it with air, which is another energy source. It's just amazing the life we have here on this big bubble. And we create our own little bubbles that we live within ourselves that matter, our little circles, so to speak, just from Meet the Parents, which is, I guess, our movie recommend of the night right there, with Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller, of course. And the very first one is just absolutely amazing movie. And I love Ben Stiller to death. And if you want to go through Ben Stiller's discography, or whatever you want to call it, his filmography, I can't even talk really tonight, but I don't know why. I just had to get this off my chest. But that's the movie to definitely watch, Meet the Fockers. Meet the Parents. Meet the Fockers is the second one. But anyway, it's important to have your own bubble, your own circle. Who's in your circle? You're watching them. You're keeping up with them. They're in contact with you on a daily basis. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. All right, well, those are the people that you keep close to you. And everybody else you feel like may be important. You read their opinions. You haven't seen them since high school, or you never met them ever in your entire life, but they're, you admire them and you relate to them, so you care about what they say, but you really, I think we put a lot too much into each other. I think it's important that we put ourselves out there for others. I think that's an important thing to do. But at some point, if you are, you can't put yourself out too much, because no matter what, there's always going to be bad people out there. And there's people that are going to not even know. They may be just the way they have been through the system, naturally people that take advantage of things because it's offered to them, like an animal. If you feed it, it will come back because it knows it can get food from you, to the point where it feels comfortable around you. And that phase of no trust is, you'll get lies or deception where you think it's friendly, but then it hisses at you or whatever, and so that's the same way with people, and if you put yourself out there as a good person too much, people will ask you and take advantage of you. And that's one lesson that I think all the good people in the world that try to be there for other people need to know, when there's a line. There's like hours that I'm open, and if it's an emergency, blah 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 blah, but don't overstep the line. Or if I can't accommodate because I just don't have it, or I can't, then that other person should never ever take that like a personal thing, because you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of others, And I think our Generation X, that's my generation, the generation from 1961 to 1981, that if you were born in those years, those 20 years, then you're a part of Generation X. And you've lived the life before the internet. You were the late industrial revolutionary babies that were getting pushed into the digital age, now the internet age, the internet revolution, whatever you want to call it. I guess the digital revolution. It'll have a name when we look back at it, but right now it's whatever it is, the virtual revolution. I don't know. We'll come up with a name for the history books later on, right? But because the Industrial Revolution wasn't what it. I don't think they even referred to it as that until it was later on, like at least 30 or 40, maybe 50 years. When they look back and go, well, that's the trend. That's what happened. Look at the country's different. And well, the whole world is different because of this. And that did affect the whole world as well. Oil was a big trendsetter and became so popular that it's in literally everything that surrounds you, even things that you ingest, things you wrap the things up that you ingest. It's amazing how much oil is actually used. It controls the pharmaceutical companies. It controls manufacturing. It's everything. And it started out as just a lubricant for railroad cars. And look what we're dealing with railroad cars. No maintenance whatsoever on a railroad car. It kills me. It really does. The situation that's going on with our railroad system. Ironically, the strikes that were planned, where they were going to shut down the railroad and not run, was diverted by the companies because they would not support it when initially they would. And the main reason why the employees wanted to call attention and shut the trains down was because of safety measures and things that have changed. Now, a lot of people will point towards policies and so forth. I don't think you have to have a policy in place to have common sense and be safe about what you're doing. It's obviously that corporations do not invest back into their business as much as they should, as much as they're worried about making sure bonuses and profit margins are as high as they are. So they cut the cost where it needs to be cut, but you need one railroad worker at least on the train, right? Until they're automated, and then there won't be any. There you go. Just a derailing bomb somewhere down the road. No one to pay attention to what might be in the tracks that the internet or the AI that's controlling the train cannot see. But apparently, it's smarter than us. But anyway, the deal is, corporations shouldn't have to be forced to do what is right. but that's the forced nature of how things are. And it blows my mind that we have become so accepting of it, to the point where there's literally political policies put in place that helps corporations stand over any, upcoming business that's ever created by any individual whatsoever, aka the mom and pop store. And now with that being wiped out of the market completely after the year of 2020, it's really set up a prime takeover for where you have no options for lower prices or getting something locally unless you go to a farmer's market or you really dig. But it's not something that's promoted or pushed like any algorithm. My topics, because of the podcast, only reach out to people that bluegrass roots pass it on to the other. So the more you share this podcast, by the way, thank you very much. And I love the interaction. Hit me up however you want to on any platform. Twitter is my most popular. But I have if you want to be interactive, we do a live podcast once a month. I will give you up, an ahead of time schedule on that, because the last time was just a trial run to figure out how it works. So I'll know exactly what to tell you to be on. Facebook would be a good platform because I will post a link to the chat that's interactive with me as I'm live. So you'll be able to control the podcast by giving me topics or just asking me questions or what I think about this or whatever. There's no whatever, I don't care. That's what I love about the podcast. Streaming is the same way. I play Fortnite, but I'm a casual gamer. I'm not a gamer, so I don't brag that, hey, come check out my Fortnite moves. I have no fucking Fortnite moves. I play it like a Call of Duty type. Really, I do. And I run around, hide in bushes, and then when I get cocky or I'm in a zone, I'll start playing around and jumping in cars and throwing hammers and bouncing around and all the kiddie kind of stuff. But I don't build, which is kind of like the basis premise of the game that made it so different. But I just don't build. I like the challenge of them having building at their advantage, but I don't, and I still come out on top sometimes, so I feel pretty good about myself. Don't play as much, but anyway, so when I do stream, I'm really interactive with the chat because that's kind of the whole point. I want to bring people in and make them feel welcome and promote the hell out of them, and I don't care who it is that comes through, and it feels good to do that because that was my initial plan from the very get-go. When I did start the stream, I realized I wasn't a great gamer, and I can talk a lot, apparently, and so it just seemed to work in together. But what I wanted to do was kind of bring streamers on and promote them and talk about their stream and what they're doing and their community and things like that, because I really enjoy how Twitch opened my eyes to, if you're interested in finding out so much information about different places on the planet or just any kind of interest that you have, deer hunting. I know that was a bad one to start off with, but I'm from the South. But there are, people that share hunting tips and stuff like that, crocheting, animal love, care, how to, do certain things. And yes, video games is where it all started, of course, but there's of course hot tub streams. You've heard about those, and any topic that you can think of. Now I just like video games, and I did vary out, and I watched like one dude do the stock market because I thought that was interesting. I'm watching this dude do stock market trades and stuff, and he's talking about why he's doing it, and then it's a very good learning experience if you're very interested in getting into the trade market. And you just follow this guy and watch him on the daily. And by the time you get into it, the next thing you know, you'll be trading up and investing your money and making more money, if you're that smart. I'm not that smart. Plus, I never have the capital to even start doing that. But anyway, it's a good idea, And so Twitch really opened up that door to the fact that I thought, well, why can't I just do a podcast? But I'm playing a video game, so at least there's no dead air time, because I didn't know how good I would be at talking. And I'm a long way off. I mean, this is just a raw podcast, there's nothing special about it except for if I bring anything to the table that makes you think about something. And if you walk away from the podcast or stop listening and the topic is still rolling in your head, like, what if I get you to do the what if, then the podcast has been successful in my mind, because that's all I'm trying to do. And that's all the podcast is. It's just to talk about various topics and discuss maybe the reality or maybe the fiction of it and maybe the possibility of. Because if you have those conversations, you can find solutions and ways to deal with them or the way to handle them, because a lot of the topics we talk about really don't affect our lives in the real world when we walk out the door. They're just laid on our brains so much that it's constantly on our mind. Think about it, really. What if we, what's going on with China and Russia and United States and Ukraine? Does it really matter what they decide and do? Do you still have to get up every day and go to work or do whatever you got to do, raise the kids, clean the house, whatever it is, get something to eat for lunch that day. You got to make sure you go across town and go to the doctor's appointment. All this stuff needs to continue to happen. So nothing stops really, So until something just stops, like the world, like a big event or something. And even then, we are so brainwashed to you got to keep going, Things have got to keep going, and it's true. We do. We always got to keep going. So for the younger generation, I just hope you understand that Generation X is still sitting here silently. Some of us are starting to speak out. Hopefully we passed on enough knowledge to you, but it seems like y'all forgotten some things. Like, for one, you don't trust government. These faith in politicians and hearing all you young people brag or repeat the very things that some of these, like you recite them, like baseball stats or something. And I'm just like, okay, but I want to know how you feel about it. Like, what's your concept of it? How does that translate into your world and affects you? Does that seem right or okay? And do you think that this is going too far? But this isn't. You're being selective. When I look at both being tragedies, regardless of what motivate them. And I'm not talking about anything in particular, but there's been a lot of bad things that have happened over the past few years, especially since 2020. And it's all been politicized to the point where you had to feel a certain way. And if you felt like this was okay, then that made you this. And if you felt like this was okay, then that made you that. And if you felt like both were wrong, they will question you till they find you a side to put you on. No one's allowed to be in the middle. And that's where I have a problem. And I'm here to see if there's voices out there, people that will admittedly, openly say, hey, what about the middle, the compromise, the middle party, the people that matter the most, the majority, the silent people that are waiting to see what kind of bails out here. We can't do that this time, folks. We can't really sit back and let our leaders make all the decisions because they are our elected servants. I don't care what position you put them in. They're an elected servant. They serve us. So, when a politician acts like they're above the people, they automatically lose my respect. The only thing that can save them is if they're smart enough to make me feel like they can make this country better. I haven't seen that in a while. I really haven't. And I miss it. And now I'm stuck watching the same rerun about to repeat next year. And this year is going to be just more of the same old crap that we saw from 4 years ago. And it's just, I am deeply disturbed by that we won't look past those two options. We have a chance here to say, you could push it all you want, but when you go to vote or a poll question or whatever, other, write in a name, the next person on, as long as they're not a Republican or a Democrat, you will make a statement that they cannot ignore. And so that's why I talk about it. But I need the younger generation to really hear me, because y'all have been, I don't know what happened there. I don't know if we were just like, it's okay to be as open. You got to have some type of standards to hold your leaders to. And you're not doing that. You're letting them make up the standards. And that's like letting an employee decide what they get paid and what time they work and all that. That kind of takes away the point of the job. It's a part of life. It's what they have to do. They don't actually earn a business and know what an ordinary life is, yet they're still up there making decisions for our lives, thinking, okay, well, if they make this much, they should be able to cover everything. No, they think everything just means bills. That's it. They can afford the bills. They don't consider you having a life outside of working. They figured you're going to be tired, you're going to have 8 hours here, 8 hours there, and 8 hours... And it's really horrible, because now you don't have that extra 8 hours. It's just sleep, work, work. Sleep, work, work. That's the only way you're going to make it. And for people that can't sleep, work, work, and they can only sleep and work, and then feel pain the rest of the time, those people are in trouble. Because, get this, they want to give you medical assistance if you're below like a line, right? So you're able to make some extra money on your own. Any extra money you make, they take away from. I think there should be it doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, you're giving me the opportunity to stand on my feet, so if I make some extra money, then I can save up and be independent and wouldn't need the money from you anymore, the government or the state or the local whatever. But what they do is they play the game of, oh, you made $200. Well, we're going to take that out of here. Well, then I didn't really earn anything extra to build off of, did I? You just took it away from that, you know what? So there should be like a time limit saying, hey, we should give you this amount of money, you got like a year, you know, or whatever, you know, that seems sensible. I'm not good at these things. And then that's what you get for that entire amount of time, or until you are sustainable, you know, if you do it beforehand, you know. No extensions or whatever, that's a fair shot. I think that would be more than this playing out game where they keep you at a certain limit where you can't exceed, you know, getting out of that hole. It's like they keep your head just above water so you don't drown, but they got 1,000 of you all in the lake at the same time. It's like cattling. And we're letting it happen. All you got to do is just stampede these motherfuckers over, and it's game, baby. It's game, you know. But getting everybody to wake up and get on that page is the hardest thing to do. And because of my favorite thing in the world, movies and TV and all that, have been so manipulated in our minds and brainwashed us to desensitize us to the idea that that's even a possibility. It's a far out hope. I haven't lost hope in humanity yet. And I really believe in good versus evil, and that we are a good country, and that we still hold the values that I believe in, that makes us continue to establish freedom as the basis of everybody having equal rights in this country, unlike any other country before it. We're the ones that set that trend of freedom. We made it popular. We made it attainable for the first time in human history. And that's what made our country so fucking great. Regardless of its bloody past and the bad things that happened to get us here, it's what we do with it today to make it live up to what it was created for everyone. Everyone. So you have to deal with things you don't agree with, as long as you're able to express or be who you want to be and be happy. Everybody else should be allowed that too. As long as the biggest rule of all, it doesn't conflict or interfere with anyone else's life. In other words, you can't take your party over next door. You know, you can't shoot your gun off in a general direction. You know, stuff like that. You know, contain your life. Be happy with what you got. Don't feel like you're owed more because you're just a person or you're super fucking rich. I mean, it's really a big poverty line there. And they really have a lot of control over a lot of us. And I just feel like my voice is a voice of that party, that people in the middle, that those people that work harder than anyone else does, but it's slave labor. By no choice. Either you do it or you be homeless. One of the two. Whichever your choice. Some people do, honestly. That's the reason why I say you can never solve the homeless problem ever. Because some people choose to be homeless. And then when you talk to some of them that choose it, their reasoning is very inspiring to the point where it's something inside of you goes, that's the right way to do it. Fucking let go of all this material shit and just live. One of the reasons why I love the movie Fight Club so much. Another movie recommend there. Meet the Parents and Fight Club. You'll never get it out of any other podcast. But life is so materialized and so media driven that what's happening around us is being altered before our very eyes. And we feel helpless to it. And most of the world is. When the government makes a decision, this is what we're going to do, they don't really have a real choice in it. But here we do. So I need everybody to tell everybody to speak up about how they really feel. Not what's told to them, but how they feel about it. And make sure when you go to the voting booth, you make that voice well known. Make them scared up to that election. Make them consider putting a third party up on that stage. At least a third option. There's no reason why our election system or how it's presented to us should have to do with anybody running. It shouldn't be up to the Republican Party, or there should be some independent that invites presidential candidates to be on stage in the final months so everybody can be well informed of who is out there that can do the job. Not just these two idiots that seem to be the bottom of the barrel of what we got left to offer. And I'm talking about both of them. I'm done with it. I'm ready to move on. I want a president that cares about his people, not about his government. More about making people's lives better, not tax breaks for corporations. We need representation back in Washington. We need to overthrow our government and not let it be perceived on the news as a bad thing. It's happened before to establish freedom for people to be who they are, to be free, to be equal. And it's been a long road to get here. And I'm not going to sit back and watch our corrupted government take over because they think we can't vote for anybody else but them too. It's a simple solution to really break the system, and something every single person in this country can help do together. Just think about it. Nothing holds you back. Doesn't cost you anything. And it changes history forever. When a people actually stops the repetition of the fall of the Roman Empire, that's what's happening. And if our government can be put in check by its people, unlike what Rome was unable to do, then we will have corrected a major flaw in human history by one of the greatest empires on the planet. If you want to look at it like that. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud and lucky and don't take for granted that I was born into a life in this country. So for all you out there that listen to this and you're in a country that doesn't have and you think this country is great, it is. It has its whacked out problems, but hear my voice. I'm able to express how I feel about it and talk about it. See if other people out there feel the same way. Maybe talk some sense into them. I try. People think you're crazy because you're taught that those people are crazy, but when you listen to them, they make a lot of sense. The middle makes a lot of sense. Anyone that denies the compromise and understanding that we all got to live here together and we should all get along, if you don't understand that, then I that's the reason why there's a problem. You have all my respects to any way you feel about any type of people or how you feel about yourself or how proud you are, but just keep it in your yard. Wait for your parade and then go out there and publicly, but other than that, keep it, Go inside, live stream, put yourself out there, blast it to the world. But in public, outside of the world, keep it checked. It's called consideration and respect for one another. It's not limiting anybody. Everybody has everything available to them in this country. You just got to want it and need to get it. Some of us don't have that need and want anymore. Well, there's a little bit left. And that's why I continue to do the podcast. And I will be live streaming this week, starting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, right? That's right. Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Central Time. So definitely follow me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. Dropped a couple of new TikToks today. Make sure you check them out. Definitely a lot of views getting on those, so you want to miss out on those TikToks. Good gosh, let that data get collected by those Chinese agents. And any other platform. Facebook, like I said, we'll have a chat link to the live podcast when we do that, so you may want to go ahead and find Simply Super Dave there. And I don't know what else to say, folks. If you want to donate, of course, to the podcast, make sure everything continues to keep going, including the stream, getting that loaded up. Definitely hit me up on the Cash App. $, SimplySuperDave. Just look me up. It's really easy. And if you're down into that, and that way it's a direct donation, it can go into paying for the bills to keep the podcast going and starting the stream back up. So thank you so much for everybody's support so far through these 70 episodes, and I really hope that everybody has a great week coming up. I hope I gave you something to think about tonight a little bit. Look at life in perspective, Don't forget that the younger generation idolizes the older generation by paying attention to what it does until they think they know better. And then we just got to go through that. And Generation X is now primed to kind of set the tone. But the baby boomers won't let go of those term limits. And I think we need to break that too. Like I said, folks, you can make a big change down the road. And I really am reaching out to talk to that person in the middle. The one that's not so far to the left or to the right, but the one in the middle. The one that makes sense. The one that understands that the most important thing is that we all use a little love and laughter to conquer that hate and fear. We can all be conquerors, or some of y'all can be victims. Think about it. Have a great Sunday evening.